All right, folks, let's go through some logbook sessions. What we're all here to do, right? Look at some data and look at some pretty colors on a chart. Just kidding. But yeah, so in the top right corner, you see a brass colored plus button. We can start a new session there, or if you're empty, you'll get a big brass colored start your first session right in the middle of the screen. But let's go ahead and tap on this. First thing that's going to pop up, I could select a piece of equipment from my vault. We'll go over vault later, but if I wanted to, yeah, I forgot about these. I have a rifle and a pistol in there called my little Sabu and my side B. If I wanted to, I could select an item there. And then this target analysis would be actually associated with that when we look at the logbook sessions. So for now, I'm going to go ahead and just leave it off. Well, let's go ahead and tap it on. Just for funsies. We'll pick my little boo, which is my 300 blackout. Oh, now I know why I don't want to show you that. Because caliber. Say you don't have an item in your vault or you don't want to use that feature, which is totally fine. You can search through here and figure out exactly what you wanted. So say you wanted search for arc. There's all 22 arcs. That's kind of my new favorite round right now. But you could play with 22 arc, or you can come back out here, search for a 300 blackout, whatever you wanted to do. But for now, I'm going to go ahead and go back and actually select my little boo. Quick log mode we'll go over later. For the most part, you're going to skip that, and that'll make sense more later. You can set your target distance. If you have a multi-bullseye target, so say you have a session up that has like 2 to 6 or however many you want, this will actually walk you through setting up all that, and we give you some quick targets to pick from. I'm contemplating getting rid of this feature because it's really simple just to add these as you're going through. And I'll explain that as we go through this next one. So I'm going to go ahead and toggle this off. Next would be your environmental conditions. The first time you use this, you'll actually be prompted to turn on weather location. Again, it's not using your personal data. It's just tracking your physical location for the sole purposes of weather and nothing else. You can edit that in here if you want to, but just know that all this stuff is going to be editable from the session that actually gets created. So don't stress out if you created this, a week ago, or you shot this target a week ago and you need to get the weather in there. Don't worry about that right now. But if you're at the range and you walk up to your target, you take the picture and you use the weather, the environmental conditions from right then and there, then you'll have the most accurate weather. So this just happens to be the weather that I'm displaying right now. Anyhow, moving on, target photo. Let's go ahead and just select one. We'll select one. Let's just pick one with a couple points of aim on it. And then come down here and hit continue. We'll go over these later. We're going to start with the ruler or grid line, but we'll go over gong a little bit later. You'll see where that comes in handy. But let's look at the ruler and grid lines. So on my target here, probably what you're used to is plotting. I'm going to zoom in on it. These two sideways T's. Those are 1-inch marks that I drew with a ruler. And what I'm going to go ahead and do, which you're probably used to, is I'm just going to come up here, get somewhat close, and just tap on the screen. And on the right-hand side, after placing the first point, you can see there's bubbles for 1/2 inch, 1 inch, 2 inch, or edit. You can put in whatever calibration size you want. I know there's some people that have super small grids drawn onto their targets, and you can just put in, 0.222 if you want to, if that's what your grid line is actually set to. But the default is always going to be 1 inch. My line happens to be 1 inch, so I'm just going to leave that. I'm going to go ahead and select it. And this is where that pulsing is coming from that I was telling you about earlier. And we can turn this off in settings. But this just kind of helps me zero my eye. And just for reference, this always draws a 1/2 inch circle, depending on the calibration points that you set. It'll draw a 1/2 inch. So my center bullseye there is actually a 1/2 inch. So it draws it just right. And so same thing with the bullet holes. You can see these are pulsing there. It kind of draws your eye to the center. So I'm going to go ahead and line these guys up real quick. And I'm just tapping on the screen and placing these points. And my phone rings during a video. I'm not sure if you heard that or not. Anyhow, moving on. Let's select a few more. Go through here. Just tap. And you can tap it however the heck you want to do it. In the bottom right-hand corner, you can see there's a plus button with a circle. You can actually tap that, and I'll give you another point of aim. So we're going to go down here, and this is going to create a whole new set of data for you. So let's add these shots as well. I'll just pretend that's that guy. Pretend it's that guy. That guy. I don't know what happened with that shot there. But now I'm zooming in and out here. You can see that it's kind of color coding things as I go through here as well. My first bowl becomes the blue. The next one becomes red. But let's pretend that we're just done adding shots and points of aim. That's really all there is to it. In the bottom right-hand corner, you'll see your brass colored right arrow. Just go ahead, tap that guy. And you can save this to your logbook. You can add a session name if you want to. Let's see. We'll just call this my first session, because that's so descriptive. And we can come down here and you can add notes that will show up in session details. These, so we can actually show those. My notes are here. There we go. So you have these two toggles here. You can actually create more sessions if you want to, or just save it right to the logbook. But it gives you a quick little summary. I created 2 bullseyes, or 2 points of aims, and laid down a total of 10 shots. So we're going to go ahead and save these to the logbook. And you'll see that it drops you right in there. It has all your environmental data. Anything in the brass color there is editable. You got the notes section here. You can add, these are all the notes that we actually had earlier. Yeah, you see it's got the distance, the equipment. You'll see my little boo had plus 10 shots. We'll go over that a little bit later. But this is going to be super handy for people who like to track their rifles and their barrels being used. But it sets up your standard data here. So down here in the metrics, you have your bullseye 1, or you can actually select your bullseye 2. And it'll give you all your data, your mean radius, your SEPs, either using the median or the Rayleigh method. A lot of people are focused on mean radius right now. So you got that right here, 0.532. And say this was actually an aggregate of some sort, where you're testing the same exact powder measures. You could actually look at the powder measure or at the aggregate section here, and you can see everything just piled together. So it just gives you that one big bulk summary. But for me, I'm not going to pay attention to that aggregate, because these were actually 2 different loads with different powder measures. So the aggregate doesn't really do me very much. So we'll go over session details and quite a bit more details, but I just wanted to show you a quick way to start a target analysis and get your first session plotted.